The engines came before the shadows, before the fear. Before the change, that morning, Maple Ridge was wrapped in sunlight, the kind that made the diner's chrome letters gleam and the gravel shimmer like glass. But peace doesn't last long on the open road. The quiet was broken by the deep, rolling thunder of engines, a sound that made windows tremble and hearts skip. People inside the diner turned their heads toward the noise, coffee cups halfway to their lips. The air itself seemed to hold its breath. Then they appeared, a line of bikers cutting through the stillness like a storm made of leather and chrome. At their head rode Rex Malone, a name that people spoke in hushed tones. Scars on his face, steel in his eyes, the kind of man who carried his past like a road map etched into his skin. Some said he'd seen prison walls. Others said he'd saved lives. No one knew for sure. But everyone agreed on one thing: when Rex walked in, the room got quieter. Inside the diner, a young waitress named Mara wiped down the counter, pretending not to notice. But she did. Everyone did. And when her sleeve slipped just enough to reveal a bruise near her jawline, one she tried to hide under layers of foundation, Rex noticed that 2.it was the kind of wound that had nothing to do with accidents, and for the first time in years, Rex felt something stir inside him, a memory, a ghost, a promise he'd failed to keep long ago that he didn't know it yet, but that single glance would change both their lives. The diner smelled of coffee, grease, and regret, the usual blend of small town mornings. The regulars tried to act normal, but the tension was thick enough to taste. Rex sat at the counter, his gloves still on, eyes steady. The waitress moved quietly between tables, shoulders tense, smile brittle. When Mara poured his coffee, her hand trembled slightly. Rex saw the faint tremor, the way she kept her head down, and the faint blue shadow beneath her makeup. It wasn't his business. Not at first. But something about her silence reminded him of someone. Her name was Lila. She used to smile the same way. Just before the Bruises started, the sound of laughter from the bikers broke his thoughts. They joked, they teased, they filled the place with noise. But Rex's attention stayed on Mara, on the way she flinched when the manager barked orders, on the way she whispered apologies even when she hadn't done anything wrong, that he recognized fear when he saw it. Hours passed. The lunch rush came and went. Rex stayed longer than usual, nursing a cup of coffee that had gone cold. When Mara accidentally spilled a drink, the manager's face twisted in anger. He shoved past her, hard enough to make her stumble. The whole diner froze. Rex's jaw tightened. The man's name was Hal, thick arms, greasy hair, a permanent sneer. He didn't hit her in front of everyone, but he didn't need to. His control lived in her silence. That night, Rex sat in his garage, surrounded by the low hum of tools and the faint scent of motor oil. The neon light buzzed overhead, painting the world in red and blue. His brothers from the motorcycle club laughed in the next room, but Rex wasn't with them. He was miles away, in memory, in guilt, in a promise that once meant everything, that he'd once sworn to protect someone from pain like this. He hadn't kept that promise, and now, fate had given him a second chance. The next morning, Mara came in early. The sky was gray, clouds heavy with unfallen rain. She paused when she saw the row of motorcycles already parked outside, their chrome catching the dull light. The bikers were back, and Rex was waiting at the counter. She offered a tired smile, trying to hide the new bruise just below her collarbone. He noticed it anyway. "Rough night?" he asked softly. Her smile faltered. "I'm fine." "Yeah," he said quietly, "I used to say that too." Something in his voice, low, calm, but heavy with truth, broke her defenses. Tears welled up before she could stop them. She turned away, ashamed. But he reached out, gently touching her wrist, not to hold her, but to steady her. "Hey," he said. "You don't have to lie." Before she could answer, Hal stormed out from the kitchen, voice sharp. "What's going on here?" You got work to do, girl. Rex turned, slow and deliberate. The diner went dead silent. The other bikers stopped eating, their eyes following their leader. Hal smirked, until he met Rex's stare. Problem? Rex asked. This is my diner, Hal said, puffing up his chest. You and your little gang can finish your food and leave. Rex stood. The sound of his boots on the tile echoed through the room. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. You think being stronger means you get to hurt her, he said. That makes you weak. Hal's face reddened. You don't know anything about. I know enough, Rex interrupted, stepping closer. I know fear when I see it. I know what kind of man causes it. The other bikers rose slowly, like a wall of silent thunder behind him. The customers, who had always pretended not to notice, now watched, wide-eyed, hearts pounding. Hal's bluster evaporated. He muttered something under his breath and backed away, grabbing his jacket. The door slammed behind him, the bell jingling weakly in his wake. For a moment, no one moved. Then Mara exhaled, a shuddering, broken sound. Tears streaked her face as she whispered, "Thank you." Rex shook his head. "Don't thank me. Just start over. Don't let fear own you anymore." She nodded, her lips trembling. The room was silent. Then, slowly, a single pair of hands began to clap. It was an old man by the window. Then another joined. And another. Until the diner filled with the sound of quiet applause, not for violence, but for courage. That night, the story spread through Maple Ridge like wildfire. The bikers, once feared, were now whispered about for something else. Not chaos. Not danger. But kindness. Mara quit the diner that same week. She found a new job at a small cafe across town, where the owner smiled instead of shouted. Sometimes Rex stopped by for coffee. Not to check up, not to play hero, just to share a moment of peace. She smiled differently now, freer, lighter, real. Months passed. The biker club began organizing charity rides, for women's shelters, food drives, children's hospitals. What started as one man's moment of compassion turned into something bigger, a movement of redemption. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Mara stood outside the diner, now under new management, laughter spilling from its windows. She looked up as the familiar roar of engines rolled through town. Rex led the pack, his leather jacket catching the fading light. As he passed, he raised a hand. Just a small wave, she smiled, waving back. No words were needed, because sometimes, kindness doesn't whisper, sometimes, it roars. That night, as the last light faded from Maple Ridge, people didn't remember the thunder of engines, they remembered what came after, the silence, the peace, the understanding that even the roughest hands can hold the gentlest hearts. And in that quiet town, on that quiet road, kindness found a new sound, the echo of Harley engines fading into the dusk.